My name is Margaret. Margaret Ann Whitaker. I am 78 years old, and I have played the same lottery numbers every Wednesday and Saturday for 53 years. I never missed a week. Not once. Even when my hands shook from arthritis. Even when my late husband, Harold, passed away, and I could barely see through the tears. Even when I was sick, cold, or could not remember what I ate for breakfast. I remembered those numbers. They were our numbers. Harold and I chose them together on a piece of paper back in 1971. They were birthdays, anniversaries, the date we first kissed under the bleachers at Ridgeway High. I believed in them. Harold did too. We called them our second pension. After Harold died, I kept playing. The clerk at the gas station always smiled when I walked in. "Still trying your lucky numbers, Miss Margaret?" And I would smile back and say, "One day, baby, one day they will hit." Nobody believed I would win, but I never played for anyone else. I played for Harold, for the dream we used to whisper to each other at night when the lights were out and the world felt cruel. A little white cottage by the sea, enough money to spoil our grandchildren, peace, freedom, something we never truly had. I lived alone in the house we bought in 1969. The wood creaked with every step, and the paint peeled from the porch. But it was mine. It smelled like Harold's aftershave and the roses he planted out back. It was home. My eldest daughter, Linda, lived 20 minutes away. She rarely came by. Said she was too busy with work and her own kids. She would text once in a while, short and clipped. "You okay? Need groceries?" "Sell the house yet? No question mark. Never a love you. Never how are you, Mom." But I understood. She had her life. I had mine. At least, I told myself that. Then one Saturday morning I bought my ticket as usual. 6 numbers. My 6 numbers. Like I always did. I tucked the ticket in the back of my Bible. I always did that too. That evening I sat in my recliner with my tea and toast. The news came on. I barely noticed it at first. But then I heard the numbers. The exact numbers. Mine. Harold's. I blinked. Once. Twice. I leaned forward, heart racing. I turned up the volume. They repeated them again. Every single number matched. 1. I had actually won. I screamed so loud my neighbor banged on the door thinking I had fallen. I laughed and cried. I kissed the old photograph of Harold that sat on the mantel. $50 million. $50 million. For the first time in decades, I felt like life was starting, not ending. I called Linda first. I should not have, but I did. Because she was my daughter. Because I thought she would be happy for me. She answered after 5 rings. "Linda," I said, breathless. "Baby, I won. The numbers. Our numbers. Harold's numbers. I won the lottery." Silence, then laughter. Cold, sharp laughter. "Are you sure, Mom?" she said, voice tight. Yes, I checked 3 times. They are the numbers. I have the ticket. I put it in the Bible. Can you believe it, Linda?" I thought she would cry, or laugh with joy, or come running over to hug me like she did when she was little. But she was quiet. Too quiet. "I'll come over," she finally said. "We need to talk. You should not be alone with something like this. It is dangerous. I thought she was being protective. I thought she wanted to help. She arrived an hour later with coffee and a strange smile, the kind of smile that does not reach the eyes. "Let me hold on to the ticket, Mom," she said, "just until we get things sorted, for safety. Someone could break in." I hesitated, but then I thought of all the times I held her hand through nightmares, all the lunches I packed, all the sacrifices Harold and I made so she could go to college. She was my daughter. So I gave her the ticket. She tucked it into her purse like it was nothing. Then she leaned in and kissed my cheek. "You did it, Mom," she whispered, and I smiled. Not because of the money, but because I believed we would be close again, that the distance between us would finally shrink, that this would bring us together. Oh, how wrong I was. The next week blurred like a bad dream. Linda told me she had hired a lawyer. She told me the money would go into a trust, that I needed protection, that I was old and not in my right mind to handle something so big. I said I was fine. I said I just wanted to fix up the house, maybe take a trip to the coast. She smiled and said, "Don't worry, Mom. I'll handle everything." She moved me out of my home 3 days later, said the house needed fumigation, that it was unsafe, that she had found a temporary place for me. I packed one suitcase. I took Harold's photo. I took my Bible. I left the roses behind. The car ride was long. I stared out the window like a prisoner. My chest ached. I missed my porch, my garden, my memories. We arrived at a building with faded brick and cracked windows. A flickering sign said, "Sunny Ridge, Senior Living." It did not look sunny. It did not look like living. Inside, the hallways smelled of bleach and loneliness. The walls were beige and stained. The staff looked tired. I heard coughing and crying. I felt cold. "This is just for a little while," Linda said, "until we sort everything." She handed a nurse a folder and turned to go. "Wait," I said. "I do not understand. I can live at home. I can hire help." But she was already at the door. She turned and said, "Trust me, Mom. This is best." And then she was gone. I sat on the lumpy bed, shaking. I opened my Bible. The ticket was not there. Of course it was not. I was alone. The days blurred. The meals were cold. My room smelled of mold. The other residents stared at the walls like ghosts. I asked to call Linda. They said she had restricted my access, said I was not to be disturbed. I asked about the lottery money. The nurses looked at me like I was crazy. "Miss Whitaker," one said, "there is no record of any winnings. Your daughter handles your finances now." I cried that night. I cried until my body ached, until my throat was raw, until I could not remember why I ever believed in happy endings. They took my money. They took my home. They took my freedom. I began to forget what Harold's voice sounded like. I could not sleep. I stopped eating. The world faded to beige and buzzing lights. Then one day a woman walked in. She was young. She wore a bright yellow cardigan and had kind eyes. "Miss Whitaker?" she asked. I nodded. "My name is Evelyn. I am a volunteer attorney. I read your case file. Something does not feel right. Would you mind telling me your story?" And so I did. Every detail, every memory, every word. She took notes. She asked questions. She promised nothing. But for the first time in months, someone listened. She left me with a peppermint candy and a soft smile. I clutched it like a treasure. Maybe, just maybe, this was not the end. After Evelyn visited me, something inside me flickered. Not quite hope. Hope felt too far away, like sunlight behind clouds that never move. But something stirred, a quiet defiance, like a match in a dark room. A whisper that said, "You are still here." Days passed. Then a week. I thought she had forgotten. Everyone forgets old women, especially ones hidden away in places like Sunny Ridge. But she came back. Evelyn sat beside me in the rec room while the television blared an old sitcom. I barely looked up, afraid to believe, afraid of disappointment. "I've been digging," she said softly, "and I need you to stay strong, Margaret. Can you do that?" I nodded, though my hands trembled. She leaned closer. "Your daughter, Linda. She took the winning ticket to the state claims office the Monday after you called her. She claimed the winnings in her own name. Not as a gift, not as a trustee. She said she bought the ticket herself." My throat went dry. "But she didn't. I did. It was in my Bible. I told her." "I know," Evelyn said. "And I believe you. But belief isn't enough in court. We need proof, receipts, surveillance, witnesses. Something to connect that ticket to you." I lowered my gaze. "My memory isn't what it used to be. I don't keep records. I just play. Every week. For Harold." She touched my hand. "Margaret, I already checked with the local gas station. The clerk remembered you. He said you came in that Saturday, around noon. He even remembered what you were wearing. Said you always wore the same lavender coat." I blinked. "My coat. Harold gave me that coat in 1983. "Exactly. We're going to get the surveillance footage. If your purchase shows up and the timestamp matches the numbers on the winning ticket, we'll have a case." "A case?" I asked. "A legal case," she said. "To prove your daughter committed fraud. To show the court she took advantage of you. If we can prove that, you can get your money back. And your freedom." I wanted to believe her, but all I could see was Linda's face, her calm voice, her sharp smile. My own daughter, the child I carried inside me for 9 months, the baby I rocked to sleep during thunderstorms. She had done this. "Do you think she planned it?" I whispered. Evelyn hesitated. "I don't know. But I think she saw an opportunity, and she took it. That doesn't mean this is the end. You're not done yet, Margaret," I cried that night. But not out of sadness. There was something else in my tears, a new kind of fire. I began to eat again. I brushed my hair. I asked the nurse for paper and a pen. I started writing down everything I remembered. The time I bought the ticket. What I said on the phone to Linda. The clothes she wore when she picked it up. Every detail. Nothing was too small. Evelyn came twice a week after that. She brought updates. The footage showed me buying the ticket. Clear as day. The numbers printed on it matched the winning numbers. The ticket was mine. The problem was the claim had already been processed. The check was issued. The money was transferred. Linda had placed it into several private accounts. "We'll need to petition the court," Evelyn explained. "Expose the fraud. It will take time. She will fight back. She has lawyers." I looked out the window. The sky was gray, as always. But in the far distance, a bird flew past, and for a moment I felt the wind on my face again. "Let her fight," I said. "I've already lost everything. There's nothing left to take." The first court date came quickly. I wasn't allowed to attend in person. Linda's lawyers said it was too stressful for someone in my condition. So I watched through a screen in a small room next to the nurse's station. Linda looked polished, calm, untouchable, like a politician. She told the judge I was confused, that I had a history of memory problems, that I had gifted her the ticket. Her voice was full of fake concern. "My mother has been showing signs of dementia. She asked me to help. She wanted me to have the money, Your Honor. She said it was a thank you for taking care of her." I wanted to scream. The judge asked if I had been examined by a doctor. Her lawyers said yes, that I had been evaluated as unable to manage financial affairs. "That's a lie," I muttered. But no one heard me. Then Evelyn spoke. She showed the footage. Me buying the ticket. Me smiling at the clerk. The lavender coat. The timestamp. She brought a written statement from the clerk himself. She held up my journal. The one I had written in at the facility. Every page dated. Every memory recorded. Clear handwriting. Lucid thoughts. "This is not a woman suffering from dementia," Evelyn said. "This is a woman who was betrayed by her own child." The judge looked thoughtful. He asked questions, requested documents. The hearing ended with no decision. It was just the beginning. A long road. But when the screen went black, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Pride. The next few weeks were filled with motion. Phone calls, letters, more court hearings. Linda stopped calling me, stopped pretending. One day, her husband came to the facility. He stood by the fence while I sat in the garden. "You don't want to do this," he said. "She's your daughter. Blood. Family." I looked up at him and said quietly, "Family doesn't lock you away and steal your life." He didn't answer. He just walked away. That night I dreamed of Harold. We were dancing in the kitchen. The radio played some old jazz tune. He held my hand, kissed my cheek. "You're doing great, Maggie," he whispered. "Don't let them bury you. Not yet." I woke up crying. Finally, the court made a ruling. They froze Linda's accounts, ordered a forensic audit, appointed a financial guardian to handle my estate temporarily. I was assigned an independent medical examiner. She visited me 3 times. We played word games. She asked me to tell her stories from my past. I told her about Harold, about the garden, about our numbers. When she finished, she smiled. "You're sharp, Margaret. A little lonely, perhaps, but not incompetent." She filed her report. The court reviewed everything. Then the best day of my life arrived. The judge ruled that the winnings were rightfully mine, that Linda had committed fraud, that she had abused her position as my next of kin. She was charged, not just sued, charged, criminally. She cried in court. I didn't. The judge also ruled I was capable of managing my affairs, but ordered a temporary assistant, a lovely woman named Teresa, to help me get back on my feet. And best of all, I was free to leave Sunny Ridge. When I returned home, it felt like walking into a dream. The house was a mess, but it was mine. Dusty photos lined the fireplace. The roses out back were overgrown. I sat on my porch with a cup of tea and looked at the sky. Harold's picture sat beside me. "I did it," I whispered. "I didn't let them win. Teresa helped me renovate the house. We fixed the porch, replanted the roses, donated new books to the local library in Harold's name. I even started a scholarship fund at Ridgeway High for girls in need. All in my name, no one else's. Linda sent me a letter from jail, 4 pages long, full of apologies, excuses. I read it once. Then I put it in the fireplace. Some things are too heavy to carry. So you let them burn. Now, I sit on my porch every morning with my tea. I wear my lavender coat even in spring. And every Wednesday and Saturday I still buy a ticket. Not because I need the money, but because Harold and I believed in dreams, even when the world said they were foolish. And if you're listening to this, if you've ever felt forgotten, discarded, pushed aside by the people you love, let me tell you this: you are not done. You are not too old. You are not invisible. Keep going. Keep the faith. Because when one day, just maybe, your lucky numbers will hit too. It's strange how quiet a house can be when you come back to it after so long. My home wasn't the same as I remembered. The floors creaked louder. The shadows stretched longer. Harold's smell was gone. Linda had stripped the place of my things. But I was home, and that mattered more than anything. Teresa, my court-appointed assistant, was kind and efficient. She helped me sort through the mess my daughter left behind. Stacks of unopened bills, drawers empty of meaning, old photo albums tossed into garbage bags like they were nothing. She found my wedding album in the basement, soaked from a leak. I sat at the kitchen table and peeled the pages apart with trembling fingers. There we were, me and Harold, young, stupid, in love. My tears fell on the page, but not from sadness, from a strange kind of relief. I had survived. I was still here. The court returned every cent of the money to me, minus the legal fees, of course. But that was nothing compared to what I had feared. I opened a new account in my name. I hired my own lawyer. I changed the locks, and I started a new chapter. You'd think I'd go wild, buy a mansion, travel the world. But I didn't want that. I bought new curtains, a better mattress. I hired a gardener to help with the roses. I also did something Linda never would have thought of. I forgave her. Not because she deserved it, but because I needed to. Hating her would have kept me locked in a different kind of cage. I did not visit her in jail. I sent her a letter, short, polite. It read, "I hope you find peace." I already did. I never got a reply. About a month later, Evelyn came by with a bouquet of yellow tulips. "You look 10 years younger," she said with a smile. "I feel 100 years older," I said. But I laughed when I said it. It was the first time I had laughed like that in years. We sat on the porch. The sun was finally out. The lavender bushes were blooming again. The air smelled like forgiveness. "Do you remember when you first came to see me?" I asked her. "Of course. I thought I was visiting a dying woman." "You were," I said. "But she got better." We clinked our iced teas like champagne flutes. No party, no press, just two women, fighting time, and winning. For once. I started giving back, not just money, but time, attention. I volunteered at the local community center. I taught old ladies how to use email. I baked for the church potlucks again. I even taught a class at the high school on budgeting and financial safety. You'd be surprised how many kids don't know a thing about interest rates or fraud. I told them a story about a woman who trusted too much, about what happens when love is confused with obedience. They listened. Some even cried. I ended every talk with the same words. Protect your future, even from the ones you love. I still thought of Linda. I imagined her in a cold cell, no makeup, no husband, no pretense. Sometimes I felt guilt crawl up my spine, but I pushed it away. She had made her choices. I made mine. She took my life from me. But I built it back, brick by brick, tear by tear. 6 months after the trial, I got a phone call from someone I never expected to hear from. "Grandma?" The voice was soft, nervous. It took me a moment. "Emily?" I asked. "My mom doesn't know I'm calling you," she whispered. I figured. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry for what she did, and I miss you." My throat tightened. "I miss you too," I said, voice shaking. "I think about you every day." "Can I visit?" Tears rolled down my cheeks. "Yes. Anytime. The house is always open for you." The line went quiet for a beat. Then she whispered, "You used to make me French toast on Sundays." I laughed. "I still do." Emily started coming every weekend. She was taller now, in college, studying psychology. She asked questions about Harold, about my childhood, about her mother. I told her the truth, kindly, without hate. "I think Mom always felt like you didn't love her the way you loved Grandpa," she said once. I nodded slowly. "I think you're right." "Did you?" I thought for a moment. "No, but I think I showed it wrong. I was hard on her. I expected too much. And when people feel unloved, they do ugly things." Emily placed her hand over mine. "I won't be like her." "I know." A year passed. Then, too, life became quiet again. But not empty. I started writing my story. Not for a book deal. Just for me, for Emily, for anyone who might need to hear that it's never too late to stand up, to fight, to reclaim what was stolen. I called it The Last Laugh, not because it was funny, but because it was mine. One afternoon, while pulling weeds from the garden, I found something. It was Harold's old pocket watch, rusty, long lost. I held it in my hand and laughed through tears. "Still watching over me, huh?" I whispered. That night, I placed it on my nightstand, right beside the Bible, where the winning ticket used to be. I turned 79 last month. Emily made a cake. My friends from the community center came. Even Evelyn dropped by with a bottle of sparkling cider. We lit candles. We sang off-key. After everyone left, I sat on the porch under the stars, wrapped in my lavender coat. I thought about the life I'd had, the betrayal, the redemption, the pain, the peace. And I realized something. This is what survival looks like. Not flashy, not loud, but steady, whole, unapologetically alive. If you're hearing this story and you think you're too old, too tired, too broken to rise again, let me tell you something. Age doesn't erase your worth. Time doesn't take your fire. Even after decades in the dark, one match can still light up the room. Do not let anyone bury you before you're gone. Fight for your dignity. Claw back your truth. Speak, even if your voice shakes. You may not win the lottery like I did, but I promise you can win your life back because I did. And that, my dear, was the last laugh